Yo, what's good everybody? I'm your boy Jadiro. This is my leveling guide for Druid. Let's get right into it. And first things first, let's talk about the aspects. And the first aspect we're talking about today is the Virulent aspect. And this aspect reduces the cooldown of Rabies, and that's tripled when used on elites. And we're putting this aspect on our necklace piece. The second aspect I want to talk about today is the aspect of Nature's Savagery. And the Nature's Savagery aspect reads, Werewolf skills function as Storm skills, and Werebear skills function as Earth skills. And this is while using the Nature's Fury key passive. I'll explain more on that later. And we're going to put Nature's Savagery on our ring. And last, for the offensive aspects, we're going the aspect of the Earth Sign Horror. And this makes Pulverize an Earth skill. That's all we care about for now. And we're going to put this on our totem. Alright guys, that does it for the offensive aspects. Let's go over the defensive aspects next. The first defensive aspect we're going over today is the Juggernaut's aspect. Juggernaut's aspect gives us a flat armor increase, and our armor reduces the physical damage we take. And we're going to put the Juggernaut's aspect on our helmet. And the last aspect we're going to talk about today is the Symbiotic aspect. Now you don't necessarily need this aspect, but it definitely helps to build out. And the Symbiotic aspect reads, when the Nature's Fury key passive triggers a free skill, your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite type are reduced by 3 to 5 seconds. Huge. And I'll explain more on that later when we go over the Nature's Fury key passive. So that does it for all the fundamental aspects. Let's move on to the primary and secondary skills next. And guys, before we move on here, I want to let you know I have the build on Mobalytics, so I'll include a link to that in the description and in the comments. And as you guys can see, I have everything you need here, from aspects to spirit boons to the skills. You could also see the leveling path I took, or if you just want like a general synopsis of what I did, you have it over here. All you have to do is toggle this leveling skill from left to right. You also have the gems I'd recommend, and you also have the Seneschal Stones I would recommend. I also have some cool notes in there that you can follow too. I even got the Paragon Board for you from level 1 to 70, so go check it out. Let me know what you think. I really appreciate it. Alrighty, so as for skills, I'm going to go over all the primary skills first, and then I'll go over the secondary skills after. So as for our basic skills here, I'm going Claw, and we're going to go all the way into Fierce Claw, which allows Claw to apply poison. As for our core skill, we're going to go Pulverize, and we're going to go straight into Raging Pulverize. This allows Pulverize to stun our enemies when we overpower. Now, typically people go Primal Pulverize for damage reduction, but I'll explain why I go Raging Pulverize later. Now, down into our defensive skills, we're going to go Earthen Bulwark, and we're going to go Persevering Earthen Bulwark to grant us Fortify whenever we use Earthen Bulwark, which will increase the damage effectively of Pulverize. And it also gives us a great barrier shield to negate damage, and it also gives us an Unstoppable proc, which is huge. Unstoppable frees us from CC, so that's always necessary. Alright, moving down to companion skills, guys, we're going absolutely nothing in this category. However, I don't know if you guys saw the campfire, but they're going to be buffing companions significantly, and I can't wait to make a guide on that, which I'm currently working on, so we'll talk more about that later. Now, moving down to our Wrath skills, we're going to dump a full 5 into Rabies. I do have some extra points from armor, but we're going to go all the way into natural Rabies, which helps us spread Rabies 50% faster. Next, we're dumping 1 into Hurricane. Again, I have some extra points from armor, but we're going to go into Savage Hurricane to give us damage reduction. And the last Wrath skill we're going to dump 1 point into is Trample. I'm simply taking Trample for a little bit of mobility and an Unstoppable proc. An Unstoppable frees you from crowd control, which is CC, which is like being stunned or frozen. And guys, moving down to our ultimate skills, we're not taking any ultimate skills, so we're going to move right down to our key passive, good old Nature's Fury. And Nature's Fury reads, casting an Earth skill has a 30% chance to trigger a free Storm skill of the same category, and vice versa. Now what that means, because of the Nature's Savagery aspect, that means every time I cast something like Rabies, I have a 30% chance to cast Boulder. Or every time I use my Claw, I have a 30% chance to cast Earth Spike. And as for Pulverize, every time I use Pulverize, I have a chance to cast a Tornado. And that's why I made this build around Nature's Fury. I think it's a really unique key passive, and I really like the way it plays out. But that does it for all the primary skills. Let's go into those secondary skills next. Alright guys, so we put a full 3 into Quick Shift. We're basically going between Werebear and Werewolf form all the time, and that increases our damage. And we also put a full 3 into Heightened Senses for the same reason, which reduces the damage we take. Alright guys, moving up here to Defiance, we're dumping a full 3. This increases the damage we deal to elites with our nature magic skills. Then we're dumping a full 3 into Natural Disaster, so our Earth skills deal more damage to vulnerable enemies, and our Storm skills deal more damage to CC'd enemies. And we're CCing our enemies with Pulverize because it stuns. And then we're dumping a full 3 into Resonance, which increases our nature magic as well, but it's tripled when an Earth skill is followed up by a Storm skill, or a Storm skill is followed up by an Earth skill. And then finally we're putting 1 into Circle of Life to give us a little bit of life on hit when we use Pulverize. Now jumping up into the Wrath skills, we're dumping 1 into Neurotoxin, but we really don't care about this. What we care about is End Venom. We're dumping a full 3 here, and this increases the critical strike damage we deal to poisoned enemies. Again, Rabies deals its damage in poison. Next, we're dumping a full 3 into Crushing Earth, and this increases the damage we deal with Earth skills to immobilize enemies, or stunned, or knocked down, so on and so forth. And then we're dumping a full 3 into Stone Guard. So when we have over 50% of our Fortify, it increases the damage we deal with Earth skills as well. So this is really just buffing our Pulverize damage by a whole bunch. Alright guys, moving up into our defensive skills, we're dumping 1 into Ancestral Fortitude, and this increases our non-physical resistances. So like fire, shadow, poison, you get it. And then we're dumping a full 3 into Vigilance, and every time we use something like Earthen Bulwark, it gives us damage reduction. So it basically just keeps us tankier in the fight. But as I get later into the game, I have a funny feeling I'm going to take 2 out of Vigilance and actually put them into Ancestral Fortitude to increase our resistances. And last but not least, for our core skills, I'm dumping a full 3 into Predatory Instinct. This increases the critical strike chance we get to close enemies. So basically we're critting more, we're dealing more damage. And guys, that does it for all the primary and secondary skills. Let's move on to the Paragon Board next. Alright guys, as for the Paragon Board, I'm going to speak a little bit more candidly here. So once you get to World Tier 3 and you actually start getting rare glyphs, the only one that you want to worry about here is getting Exploit. And what Exploit does is it not only increases the damage we deal with vulnerable, but it also allows us to make our enemies vulnerable. And why it's important to make your enemies vulnerable is because it lets you do way more damage than you usually could. It's called a damage bucket. That's the terminology everyone uses. So there's different damage buckets like crit damage, overpower damage, but vulnerable is probably one of the best ones out there. And guys, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but make sure to get that 25 dexterity. So go out of your way to get these extra dexterity nodes to make this pop before it gets to level 15. And once it gets to level 15, you're not going to need the extra ones here. You'll get it from this. As for the rare nodes, guys, get every rare node that's on this first board. You're either getting maximum life, armor. It's all beneficial. 20% increased damage is just nuts. And then you get resistances, you know, your main primary attribute, which is willpower. And then there again, more damage, more willpower. Awesome. As for the second board that you're going to have before level 70, go Heighten Malice. So basically, whenever there's 3 poison enemies around you, it increases your damage by 45%. Huge. And as for the rare nodes, go anything that gives you maximum life or damage, especially Overturn. This increases the damage you deal to elites, which is huge. Doesn't matter the class you go, guys. Anytime you're looking at the boards and you're doing the Paragon board, always look for the first board that gives you this damage to elites. As for the second glyph I'm taking on the second board, I'm going Territorial. I'm working my way to get the additional bonus, which is reduction from close enemies, but what this glyph does is increases the damage you deal to close enemies. But that's it for Paragon. Let's move on to the Spirit Boons next. Alright guys, as for the Spirit Boons, we're going Wariness to reduce the damage we take from elites. Then we're going to take Scythe Talons to increase our critical strike chance, and then we're going to do Avian Wrath to increase the critical strike damage we deal. Moving down, we're going to go Energize to give us resource management, and then we're going to go Masochistic. I think that's how you say it. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrong. But this gives our shape-shifting skills the ability to give us life on hit. So whenever we critically strike, our shape-shifting skills like Pulverize, Claw, Trample, Rabies, it gives us life back. And guys, the spirit bonding we're going here is the Eagle. That's why we're allowed to take 2 boons in the same category. Sweet. Alright guys, well that does it for the spirit boons. Let's move on to that Seneschal next. Alright guys, as for the Seneschal, I can't for the life of me manage to get Tempest. So in its place, I'm going Firefly. And then I'm going Resource Support with Firefly, Seeking Support, and I'm going Piercing Support. Now, Resource Support helps us with our resource regeneration. So basically, every time Firefly is used, we're getting resource back, which is our spirit. Seeking Support will make the Fireflies from Firefly basically like a homing torpedo. So it will seek out the enemies on the map. It's pretty cool. And then Piercing Support allows those Fireflies to travel through enemies and do additional damage. As for the second governing stone, we're going Flash of Adrenaline. This basically just gives us a flat damage increase. And we're going Fortify Support, Safeguard Support, and Duration Support. Now, if you can get your hands on Tactical Support, that reduces the cooldown. I would swap that out for Fortify Support. But Fortify Support does what it says on the box. It gives us Fortify. Safeguard Support gives us damage reduction. And then Duration Support increases the duration of Flash of Adrenaline. Huge. I honestly think they reduced the drop rate of Tempest on purpose, because Tempest is super OP. So if you have the chance to get that, definitely replace that with Firefly. Alright guys, that does it for the Seneschal. Let's briefly go over the gems next. Guys, as for gems, I'm going to keep this very brief. You won't need these until you start getting Ancestral Armor. Like, don't waste your time on socketing Sacred Armor. And if you do have sockets in your Sacred Armor, just do like I do and just put rubies into your armor. It increases your maximum life. And guys, as for the jewelry, I suggest you go Poison or Fire Resistance, simply because when you're doing the Capstone Dungeon from World Tier 3 to World Tier 4, the damage that the boss does in that dungeon is Poison and Fire. So if you have the chance, pop emeralds or rubies in your jewelry. Alright guys, that does it for all the gems. I'm going to show you guys the rotation demonstration next. Alright guys, here we are for the rotation demonstration. So what you're going to see me doing here is I'm going to walk in, pop Rabies, and then I'm going to transfer between Claw and Pulverize. And what you're going to see is I'm going to periodically pop my Hurricane. I will not pop my Earthen Bulwark or my Trample. Those are simply utilities for Unstoppable and if I'm taking too much damage. So here we go. So I'm gonna pop my Rabies, Claw, Pulverize, and every time you'll see the cooldown of Rabies come up quite frequently, simply because these are all elite enemies, right? And the cooldown of Rabies is tripled when using it on an elite enemy. So I'm just kind of clicking away here. It's really simple to use. You just use Claw and Pulverize. Again, I want to mention something here. I'm using all sacred armor, so the damage does look a little bit lackluster on these level 75s, but it does do damage. That's basically it. It's just altering between Rabies, Claw, and Pulverize. And whenever your Hurricane's up, just pop your Hurricane, do a little bit of extra damage. And Hurricane also reduces the damage you take. Next, I'm going to show you the best places to farm XP to level from level 1 to 7. So guys, my #1 recommendation when you're leveling is beat the seasonal campaign. That's because after you beat the seasonal campaign, you unlock the vaults. I'll talk more about that later. The second thing to keep your eyes peeled for, guys, is the seasonal objectives, especially the ones that reward Grim Favors. You're not only going to get a crazy amount of experience from just clearing the mobs from these seasonal objectives, but they also reward Grim Favors. And once you've collected enough Grim Favors, you can go flip that at the Tree of Whispers. And the Tree of Whispers will reward you with a crazy amount of XP as well. The third thing I recommend for farming XP is called the Dopamine or the Dopamine Tunnels. This particular dungeon has such a high mob density that you can rinse and repeat efficiently to level quickly. I'll do a demonstration on that later. And last but not least, my favorite way to farm XP, the vaults. The vaults not only reward you a crazy amount of XP, but they also drop a crazy amount of legendary loot, which will help you prep for the succeeding world tiers. But guys, that does it for the best ways to farm XP all the way from level 1 to 70. Next, I'm going to show you Wave Clear and single target damage in the Dopamine Tunnels. Alright guys, here we are in the Dopamine Tunnels. I just want to make a quick mention here that I have all sacred armor on, and we're in World Tier 4. So what that means is I have no ancestral gear on, and this build is still capable of pushing World Tier 4 content. Alright, we got a decent pack here, so I'm just going to start dropping Rabies. As you can see, it's going to come off cooldown, and I'm just going to start smashing away. Drop my Rabies, Hurricane up. And as you see, everything will just melt. It's almost like twisting blades, but different. Can't explain it. Alright guys, here we are at the boss. Time to demonstrate some single target damage. Same thing, drop the Rabies, claw, and smash. And once he drops his poison pools on the floor, we just kind of move out the way. We just spam our abilities. Some poison in there, trample out. I don't think he can stun us, but that's fine. So pretty decent damage. It's more tanky, right? And again, we're using all sacreds. We're in World Tier 4. So this may take a while. It's doing pretty decent damage. And that's solely why we went Pulverize. Actually, you could pretty much get away with just going Rabies all the way up into level 50. But once you start hitting like World Tier 3, you're probably going to want to go a core skill like Pulverize to do enough damage. So as you can see, start stacking the damage on here. Not bad, man. That, basically, I'm just trying to demonstrate that you'll be able to push through anything in World Tier 4. Just don't go into those ancestral vaults. Those ancestral vaults are kind of hard to push. You could do it the regular vaults, but the ancestral vaults are a little more difficult. But again, you know, resilient, and it does decent damage. I'm really loving this build. Boom, single target damage. Alright guys, that does it for Wave Clear and single target damage. Let's move on to my favorite thing to do, the vaults. Alright guys, here we are in the vault. So again, I have all sacred armor on, nothing ancestral yet. And this is really just how I limit test the builds, right? So this is more of a demonstration than anything. So here we go. Got the Zoltan's Warding, and we're just going to kind of drop the Rabies, Pulverize, and almost kite them away. Right, we don't want to stay too long. These vaults, they do crazy damage, especially poison this early in the game with sacred armor, but it's World Tier 4 sacred armor, so we'll pull through. So it's kind of like a drive-by. You know, you drop the Rabies. If it procs again, drop it again. Just try and manage your health. Make sure your defensive skills are up always. Like stuff like this, you don't want to stick around too long. See how it's high density mob. You just want to drop the Rabies on whoever you can. Let it spread. Drop the Pulverize. And get away. If I stick around there, take a lot of damage. So hopefully I can get this done with no deaths. I usually do, but let's see. I want to count my chickens before they hatch.
I do not have enough spirit.
Doing pretty good so far. So this is the tricky part here, because this thing does a lot of damage. But we kind of got to do the same kind of drive-by mentality here. Drop the Rabies, dip. Drop the Rabies. Drop again. Just keep your eye open. But that's like really the only difficult part about this build, is just keeping your eyes open for when Rabies is off. But we're doing good so far. World Tier 4, Sacreds. It's pretty cool. Again, this is how I limit test. So if I make a build, I can't do something like this, I know the build's dookie. But I really try, I really put a lot of work in trying to make, you know, not only like builds that work, but I like unique builds. I don't like doing the same builds you see online. I really try to make them as unique as possible. Just kind of bring something new and interesting to the game. I guess this is a good time to go on a tangent. Like, I know you guys seen the campfire, so did I. I really have the highest hopes for this game, even though, you know, despite people's opinion. But, you know, I'm just here to have fun. I'm here for whoever wants to play, casual Andes or the professionals. Whoever likes the game, I like to make builds for both. Honestly, I love making builds, and that's why I do what I do. And I just hope you guys enjoy them too. Whoever watches this video or whoever sees this build. It's really why I do what I do. I really like the game. I like the game. I've always liked Diablo since it came out. I was a huge Diablo 3 fan, and I used to run Monk. I hope they bring Monk in the expansion. I swear I'll never play another champion again. But yeah, having a lot of fun here. So yeah, I have high hopes, and this is just kind of like a step in the right direction. And I was talking about that companion build as well. I'm working on a companion build because companions look like they're getting a crazy buff. So I think that companion build is going to be really good. I'm trying to focus here because the mob density again is increasing. I have no potions, so I gotta be careful. I was kind of using my potions too a while there. So gotta be very careful here that I don't get wrecked. So I'm gonna try and survive until I get to that place that drops it, which I think is relatively close to where I am now. So I'm not gonna try and stick around and get too many enemies. Just that final room if I don't have potions. GG. I don't know what sound I was trying to make there, but I made it then. It sounded cool in my head. Oh, close. That was close. The density. Oh, that was close. That was close, like I said. Hard to talk and play at the same time, but I do my best. Thank God for Trample. Else I'd have been stuck there. Okay, 5 potions and room. So again, same theory. Just drop Rabies, move. So I like to run around the circle. This is actually probably the best demonstration of Rabies. Because as you can see, everything's just melting. It's spreading. So that's what's cool about it, especially in this room. Right, because you gotta wait for that guy to come up. But the beauty of what's going on here is that I have all sacreds on. So basically I'm good to go world tier 3 anything, but I'm pushing world tier 4. Right? So that's the beauty of the build. That's what I mean by limit testing. So this is, so far has passed the test. And I did get lucky in that last room. Thank God Trample was up, else it would have been big problems. Alright, there's our elite boss. I'm gonna kind of walk around, just wait for him to come close to us. Make sure I'm waiting for my defensive cooldowns here to come off a cooldown. Because I feel like if I run to this pack, I'm screwed. No, I'm okay. Got my bulwark up. Okie dokie. Oh, don't. Oh, these things are brutal if they catch you. Alright, got my bulwark up again. I'm gonna charge in here and just finish the game. Almost done. Boom! We did it. We did it one run. Let's go. Alright, my favorite part. Boom, loot shower. There we go. Let's see what we get. Boom. Vault run. World tier 4. Alright guys, well that was a vault run. That was a butt clincher for sure, but let's get into that build summary next. So as for the aspects, guys, I'll chapter it for you in the video and you can go back and check it out there. As for the skills, we're going Claw, then we're going Pulverize, then we're going Earthen Bulwark, then we're going Hurricane, Trample, and Rabies. As for the Spirit Boons, we're going Wariness, we're going Scythe Talons, we're going Avian Wrath, then we're going Energize, and then we're going Masochistic. I think that's how you say it. As for the Seneschal, the main stones are Flash for Adrenaline and Firefly. As for the Paragon Board, guys, I'll also chapter that for you. You can go check it out there. As for the gems, guys, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure you go rubies and whatever resistance you need. And last but not least, guys, if you need the whole build summary, just go to Mobalytics and check it out there. Well, that does it for my leveling druid guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. And guys, I want to wish you all luck when it comes to the gauntlet, and hopefully this build gets you level 70 real quick. And guys, don't worry about liking and subscribing. If you guys enjoyed today's video or brought you any kind of value, that's all I could ask for. However, feel free to let me know if there's anything I could do to make my guides better or if you have any questions. That does it for me, guys. I'm your boy Jadiro. Sign up for now. Peace.